Building good relationships between school and home is an important part of the job of teaching. And it's at parents' evenings that much of the communicating with parents takes place. But what happens when you're confronted with difficult questions and challenging attitudes? We took 4 experienced teachers and introduced them to some demanding parents played by actors. Observing how the teachers cope under pressure and discussing the sessions with them is psychologist Josh Baker.
What was going on for you while you were dealing with those parents in the sort of parent evening situation?
The first parent to arrive is Alicia, who believes her daughter is a high flyer with huge untapped potential.
You received Sharon's overall report?
I did, but if you could give me, if you could tell me a bit more. I never think the reports are as in-depth as they could be.
Absolutely, which is why we have evenings like this, so you can at least get a bit more detail. Generally fine, attentive in class, joins in, has produced some very good work. I've put that her spelling and vocabulary...
Yes, I was concerned about that. I'm concerned that at 14, her spelling isn't as good as it should be. In fact, I'm really concerned about it. I'd like you to tell me what you're going to do about it.
What we don't want to do is to make her feel inadequate, and it's a real issue. My real concern is I want her to develop the skills where she can sit, reflect and overcome the problem on her own, get out of the thesaurus, look at a dictionary.
And she's not doing this at
No, as I say, she wants to get it done.
I think she should be in the set 1. And this is the only thing that's keeping her from that. Right. So if we work on that together, I think we could actually get her into set 1.
Yeah, I think you've got a point, and I really hope we work together to improve her spelling, but it's not the only thing keeping her from the top set. The people in the top set are kind of operating more at a level 7 consistently, in class as well, in tests.
And so what do they do to get to this level 7 standard?
I think we need to target, as well as sort of spelling and vocabulary. Vocabulary is a real issue. Right. She's not naturally using vocabulary. Right. She needs to express her ideas in more detail. If I just show you some piece of work we did in class as a test. This is Cheyenne's, and you can see it's a little bit shorter than some of the other people in the class, which would be about that length. Right. So my first strategy would just be to keep working at the spelling and punctuation, but to be looking at extending writing style.
How can I help her do that?
I don't think you can. I think that's something she has got to. If she wants to be in a top set, and I give her specific targets in her book, and I talk to her in lesson, and I give her a lot of feedback. Okay. And I think that I've just got to continue giving her that feedback. Hopefully, if she knows we're working together, we can move her forward.
Thank you for your help.
Okay, nice to see you. My parent was quite uptight and quite worried, and obviously wanted her daughter to do really, really well, and wanted sort of quick fix actions.
There was quite an overt, explicit theme of what are you going to do?
But we get a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of. It's that's a very
that was realistic.
Oh yeah.
When you don't understand something, you sometimes want to lay blame. You know, the school's somehow done something to make them like this.
Sometimes parents need reminding that children should learn to take responsibility for themselves and their own learning. Teachers and parents can't do everything for them.
You're worried about Lee?
Sandra's son Lee is in Year 7. She is not coping well with his transition to secondary school.
He says that he hasn't got many friends and that they tease him about his eczema. And that just is not on.
Right, because he's not mentioned anything to us in school. Yes.
Do you think he's lying?
No, of course he's not lying. His feelings are probably very, very real. But children do find it difficult.
That he hasn't got any friends and that he's being bullied?
A lot of it might be around attention.
OK.
Can I just ask, when Lee comes home, how does he respond?
Well, first of all, he's always hungry, and that's another thing. I want to find out if he's always eating. I mean, does the school, cook proper meals?
Well, I have to say, when you and I were at school, we had, the cabbage and the rice pudding, didn't we? It's not quite like that. It is cash cafeteria.
Because I was actually thinking of making him a packed lunch as well as giving, because he does have school dinners. Will the other children go into it and take it?
I can't say to you that this definitely won't happen, but we'll do everything we can to make sure it doesn't happen, because we work with all the children to try and help them be respectful of each other.
He's only 11, come on.
Yes, and so are his class, you see. They're all the same, they're all in the same boat.
I really don't know how he's going to make any friends, because he's hardly ever there because of his illness.
He's been here since September and his attendance is 87%, which isn't good enough because we do look for 95, but it's not a disaster. He is in, and as I said, it's been lovely, and he's been smiling, and he seemed much more settled these last 2 or 3 days. There is lots...
But since his father's left...
Yeah, we appreciate... Mrs Todd did say that it was going to, and it had been difficult. We do appreciate...
It's very hard.
We appreciate, and you can rest assured that we are here to give Lee as much support as possible. Don't worry. Don't worry at all.
Okay.
I want you to know that as his form tutor, I see him every morning, and you can always say to Lee, mention that to Mrs Brooks. I'm not at the school. I don't know what's going on day in, but Mrs Brooks might know what you're talking about, and she can sort it out then.
Would you say it's better then maybe I shouldn't keep coming into the class?
I think it would be a really good idea if you decided to try and back off a little bit now, from your point of view, for the next 2 or 3 weeks. What I thought, I'd put in my diary to give you a ring.
It's going to be hard.
I'll ring you in 3 weeks' time.
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
and we'll see how it's gone, and see if the attendance can be up, so we can really reward him.
Okay.
Okay.
The feeling I had was there is this sense of there's a lot of anxiety here, and someone's going to hold it. And is it going to be the parents or is it going to be the teachers? And it felt like often the discussion started with a kind of, well, either it's you or them. And actually what you're saying is that you brought it round to, well, perhaps it's both me and you.
She didn't really want him to be able to be successful and independent, because she so desperately, I felt, still needed him to need her. We've got a lot of needy parents, a lot of single parents who are like that, and transition find it very difficult to let go. It's attachment.
The transition from primary school to secondary school is a big event in a child's life, but it can be just as difficult for their parents to cope with all the changes to the school environment.
To get around this...
Ruth's parents are Christians. They want her educated according to their own strict beliefs.
How can you assure us that Ruth's spiritual development is being supported in this environment in which liberal views are being expressed, in, that we really wholeheartedly disbelieve?
We have a reflective assembly which allows the whole school community to act as a congregation where we do pray, where we do sing hymns. We also have the RS studies.
But do you teach the biblical creation of the world?
In science, no, because it's not on the curriculum, but it will come up in RS.
We're concerned really about handing over the moral and spiritual and ethical questions of sex to people that are unknown to us.
You're teaching children that it's okay to have contraception, to protect themselves, to having sex before marriage, it goes completely against what we believe in.
The message that we are sending from the school is to be safe. We have to be realistic, Mr. Proctor.
We've already discussed it, and I think we've already decided now that we would like to remove her from those classes.
We've had a couple of parents, Mr. and Mrs. Khan, who said that they didn't want their daughter to be doing... They're very, very strict Muslims. But you are within your rights to take Ruth out of those classes.
I think we would want to do that. I'd appreciate that.
No problem.
And it is very, very important that you do your homework about the child, about the family, about the background. I've got my own personal religious beliefs, but I couldn't be personal in that situation. And it is a very, very difficult one to tackle.
We've had Plymouth Brethren children here, and that, when we read that case study, you sort of thought about that. And one of the most useful things that we would have possibly done is ask the child to be part of that meeting as well, because for the parents to be able to observe the child in that environment with a different relationship that they actually have. We've had to work with the child as well.
it is crucial to prepare for meetings with parents. Make sure you have accurate information about progress at school, as well as informing yourself about family background and home life. Sinead and Simon's son Marcus is more interested in working in his parents' pub than in his schoolwork.
He's coming to school every day,
yes,
but he's missing lessons. And when I challenge him...
But they're not the ones he's just hating.
Well, the fact is that we are responsible for him while he's in school. We need to know where he is.
Yes.
If we don't know where he is and he's not in his lesson...
I don't care if he hates subjects. We all hate things in school, and I'm sure there's some things that he absolutely loves as well. But I really, really do care that you're telling me that my son is not on these premises and you don't know where he is.
Have you not received the telephone messages I've left and the letters about the truancy? When he's here,
so what
he sometimes goes AWOL and we don't know where he is.
And what are you going to do about it?
What I've done about that is I've followed normal school sanctions. We've given him detentions for his truancy.
Well, that's
he's
going to
made
help,
up the
isn't
time.
it?
Well, he needs to make that work up.
We both left school, no qualifications. In fact, I had woodwork O-level.
Right.
And we've done very well, thank you very much.
And I'm very, very pleased for you, but in this climate, things are slightly different these days.
Well, the hard things haven't changed very much. I got detentions, and I got told off because I wasn't very motivated, and there were subjects I just wasn't interested in, and teachers who frankly weren't very good at teaching them.
May I just finish? What I've tried to say to Marcus is that he shouldn't see the detentions as something negative, because it's not just about punishment, it's about actually getting his coursework done, and that's what the teachers have been doing with him. It's not just sort of making him sit there, write lines. We've actually been trying to use that time positively, productively, to get his work done.
OK, I kind of see your point there. Fair enough. I see your point. Somewhere along the line, I think you're far too critical of him, and I think he's feeling that, and I think that's why he's not working for you in the first place. And that's something we need to address. How are you going to fix that?
Can I just say that I would agree with most of what you just said, that actually he is feeling attacked, and perhaps what we need to say is almost kind of wipe the slate clean and start afresh with him.
All right.
Yeah. OK, thanks.
You know, they get a tale, don't they, from their children sometimes about how out of order the teacher is and he's picking on me, and they come in with this idea of some monster. And, you know, very few of us are.
From the sounds of it, he felt like he was very kind of criticised at school.
Yeah.
And he was very sensitive to the idea that his son was now being criticised. And I guess, you know, kind of wondered actually, is it as bad as he's feeling it must be, or is that him remembering his school days and so on?
And the other thing, and I've dealt with so many parents whose personal experiences of education have been so negative that they are petrified of coming into school, and we as professionals have to recognise that actually the fact that they have come is fantastic, because it's a real nerve-wracking experience for a lot of parents.
Yeah, that's certainly something that struck me with with those parents that perhaps came across as being the most angry, was that their experience of education was very limited and
negative.
Perhaps, and negative as well.
It's important to make school accessible and comfortable for all parents, especially those whose experience of education means they find school threatening or intimidating.
I thought you did the coursework in school. Are you not giving them enough time?
Why don't you make them work a bit harder?
It seems to us that you're teaching children to have sex before marriage.
Are you saying that I'm not a very good parent?
What are you going to do about him being out of school?
Do you not think you're picking on him?
How long have you been qualified?
For use in training sessions, you can download these role plays, parents' questions and the case studies from our website and click on Answer That.